Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. In this one, this is back to basics with Microsoft Flight Sim Part 52. At long last, I'm going to cover RNAVs. RNAV approaches, in fact, in the Cessna 172, as you can see here. Flying over Germany, or a good part of Germany anyway, in this video. Yeah, I'm going to show you an RNAV approach, bringing our aircraft down safely using our navigation only. Hopefully, a lot of you may find this useful. Let's not dilly-dally, let's get on with this video. Okay my friends, for this lesson we're in the Cessna 172 again at Frankfurt EDDF Airport, Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot. As you can see, runway 25 left. Now, following our previous lesson, let me just turn this Garmin system on. I'm going to bring up my EFB again now. If you're wondering how I got into this configuration, I'm going to link the video I did all about the EFB down below. Let's get to Flight Planner. I'm going to run through this part a bit quicker than I did in the previous video. I don't want to explain everything again, as I've already explained this in the previous video. So do go and watch that. Now, add departure, EDDF. It came up because I've used it before. And arrival, EDDK. That's where we're off to. We're on. Make sure you got your runways correct for this. Runway 25 left. There you go, that's updated. Now you can see that departure. If I departed there, I'm going to have to go into heading mode to get to that magenta line. I'll add a departure. If you looked at my previous video with the EFB, rather, you know that I like this departure. So we're going to press change departure there, and that's added to our map there. Now, I'm going to come down, press the icon next to EDDK, and go to this bottom icon here. I'm going to scroll through the runways. Well, I don't need to, because runway 6 I can see already has an RNAV. Don't believe... oh yeah, runway 24 does as well. In fact, interesting. We could do that one again. I'm going to do runway 6. And I'm going to use the coal later. I'll show you that later. Our navigation is essentially area navigation. It's a different form of navigation. It uses things like, for example, our GPS in our G1000 here to guide us along the path on the approach. We will still have to use a vertical navigation, VNAV, to follow the steps down, which I'll show you later, and we'll still have to arm approach when the glide path indicator comes up. We can go back there though. Go back to this part. So, let's choose here, runway 6. It should come up, RNAV. I don't want via direct, I want coal, as it showed before. Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. I'd rather a much better flight path for us. Let's change it to coal. There we go. And just click change procedure. And that will update it on our EFB. It's not in our Garmin yet, but we can soon fix that. Send to avionics. And if I just get rid of that, come down to this view. If that part went a bit quick for you, like I said, I've done a video on the EFB already. I'm just following the steps I did there, but as you can see, we've got all that information. If I look at our flight plan, it's going to give us our steps along the departure. I just right click on that smaller outer knob, and that will bring up the flashing cursor, and I'm using that bigger knob, just mousing up on it to go through the steps, because I want to get towards our RNAV, which is there, our initial approach fix. Wants us to be at 5,000 feet. I'm going to keep it there. I could change it, but I'll keep it there. And then, as you can see, along the RNAV, it's going to give us different stages of altitude there, down to 4,000, 3,500 and 3,000 for the final approach fix. That's what I was looking for, these two numbers. What do I need to climb to? And then what do I need to descend to for our final approach fix? Click that small knob just to stop that flashing. So we've got that information. Now, I can do this straight from these controls. Going to set an altitude, of course, 5,000 feet. There we go, and we'll stick to that altitude. And I believe we are on our way. Just one more thing, I did bound a button for reset the altimeter to get the correct altimeter. What is that showing at the moment? 122. We can check this with the EFB again. If we go, click the I under EDDF, and if we go to weather, should give us, it wants us to be at 121 in fact. Interesting. We just reset again. So I'm going to put it down to the reading it wants us to be at, 121. That's essentially giving us our altitude above sea level. This is what it should be. And that will be important on an RNAV. If I go back there, go back to this part, get to EDDK, click the I icon, go to weather, you'll see it's got a different setting. It wants us to be down at 1019 HPA. So we will correct that later when we get nearer. So do keep an eye, if you're doing RNAVs, look at your EFB or charts or whatever. Probably EFB. Look at the current weather and information about the air pressure, and that's giving you the correct setting for your altimeter. Okay, let's just get back up here. We'll throttle up, release the old parking brake. Rudders are fine. I didn't reset my rudders. Sometimes I have to reset my velocity 1. Basically, I just have to press the button on my velocity 1 rudders and then put them back to Xbox first and then put them back to PC so that they're correctly configured. Didn't have to in that case. And up we go. Oh, you know what I didn't do, people, but I can correct that. Given showing bad habits there. I'm going to put it into flight level change mode. I'm going to bring that down to about 74 knots, which will be our best rate of climb. And once we have that, let me just keep an eye on what the aircraft's doing. I can press autopilot, I'll do it on my multi-panel. It will maintain us at 74 knots. Going to put it into navigation mode, GPS mode, and it will follow our route, as you can see here. So there we go, just developing better habits myself when flying, or trying to. Flight level change mode is the safest way. It's not going to go below that speed whilst climbing you at the best rate to 5,000 feet. And there we go, and we'll just let that go on a bit. And we can range out off the map there just to see where we are along our course. I mean, we're literally just taken off. Now, one thing I do want to show you. If we go to flight plan, it will give us a top of descent. It will calculate that top of descent. Even though we haven't activated VNAV yet, vertical navigation mode, it will still display. This will come up in a bit, and it will calculate it where we need to start to descend. Let's just show you that again. So I right clicked on that smaller knob, using that bigger knob just to get get us down to our initial approach fix. It's going to be around this point here, top of descent, because after that waypoint it will start going down to 4,000 feet and goodness knows what. So this will calculate as we go through the flight. Just click off that. I think, my friends, what I'm going to do, I could keep you here for the full flight. This is actually quite a long flight. I'll have to chat away for a good hour with you. What I'll do, I'll bring you back when we have some more important information to show you. Okay, we're a good way along our flight now. We're just finishing actually our departure legs, and that took a good while. Let me bring you down to this screen. You can see now the top of descent has calculated. Now if I right click on that range, should get a flashing icon. Actually just going to range out a little bit. Move that icon to up, down, about there. And then I can range in without right clicking again. You can see top of descent. You can just about see it after that waypoint, which showed, I'll show you in a moment, but that seems correct. So it's saying it's going up and down a little bit. It's a bit shorter than that, in fact. That will be our top of descent for our vertical navigation down. Now, one thing, let me just click on that range again, take us back to where we were. Don't get confused, we are doing an R navigation approach, an RNAV approach. When I mentioned about VNAV earlier, that's a command to the aircraft. So when we get towards our first stage where we have to start descending, oh, let's just bring you down here. Won't take a moment for me to show you that again. There you go. And as you saw there, the top of descent is just after that, which makes sense because that's when we need to start descending. When we need to start descending, we need to tell the aircraft, you need to start descending. And we're going to put it into vertical navigation mode along our RNAV approach. Hope that makes sense. It's probably the best way, or the simplest way I can describe that. We're not doing a vertical navigation, a VNAV approach. We're doing an RNAV approach, but we're having to tell the aircraft later, and I will affect my altitude and goodness knows what so that the aircraft knows what to do. I'm basically commanding the aircraft to descend under the RNAV approach using vertical navigation. Later on, when the glide path indicator, when we intercept the glide path, I have to tell the computer to go into the GPS to go into approach mode, still under the RNAV approach. With an RNAV approach, I don't need to input my nav1 frequency. I don't need the identifier. I don't need to tune in. There's no ILS. It's R navigation. It's going to guide us down, but we just need to tell the G1000. We need to tell the aircraft essentially what to do. We need to command it. Now I want you to go into vertical navigation mode to go down. Get towards the glide path. Now I want you to go into approach mode so that you follow the glide path under RNAV down to the runway. Hope that makes sense. Well, listen people, we're on this, it's said about 40 minutes. I'm going to estimate about 20 to 30 minutes. This will go up and down a bit, but you'll see it suddenly start to go down a bit quicker. I'm going to get us around this part, which is the first fix on our RNAV approach, and then I'll bring you back. I just had to bring you back. I mean, look at the beauty of that. Flight Sim 2024 can be absolutely stunning at times. And the cloud layering there now. Okay, granted I've got the clouds on ultra now compared to my previous ILS video where I had them on medium, I think. Doesn't that look stunning? Massive improvements over Flight Sim 2024. I wouldn't say massive. Flight Sim 2024 could still look stunning. This is just taking it that bit extra to an extra level, hasn't it? Now, in terms of the flight, I'm still on that big coal leg. So flying towards our initial approach fix. As you can see there, 30 nautical miles out. So we're not quite there yet with our setting up for the rest of the flight, the rest of the RNAV. But look at that. So enjoyable when you get those kind of scenes. I mean, flying for me is always somewhat enjoyable, and it is very enjoyable, somewhat. Flying for me is always very enjoyable. It's just made that much better when you get images like that. It's gotta be a picture. I'll be taking various... Oops, went to go full screen there, that's better. Wonderful. Bear with me, people. I know this is not particularly part of the RNAV video that I'm doing, I just have to do it. A couple of screenshots for our Discord there, wonderful. Okay, I shall bring you back when we get towards Cole. So we're literally atop the Cole initial approach fix. In fact, we're going round to it now. Wasn't that perfect timing? There we go, we're going to call. I will start to configure the aircraft and explain some of the symbology down here, just so you got the full picture. Now, I think I'll stay with you here for the rest of this approach, as we're on now the RNAV approach effectively. What we can do, I can take that altitude down. Do you remember before, just to remind you, right click that small knob, use that big knob to get down on our final approach fix, which is BEBSA. We want to be at 3,000 feet. So I'm going to take our altitude down. Well, I'm going to autopilot assign altitude. So I'm not going to descend yet. I'm just going to take that down to 3,000 feet, where we want to be to intercept the glide path, which is controlled by the RNAV. It's not a glide slope, it's actually a glide path. Okay, once we've done that, we're now coming towards the top of descent. How long is it saying that? Well, it's not 10 minutes. Give over. This goes up and down like a jack-in-the-box. I don't know if you know. Mind you, I think the top of descent has slightly changed. It's slightly gone out now. You can see it's there. Instead of being at the top of that waypoint, it's now moved on a bit. So that could be quite accurate, although you can see that going down quickly. So we'll wait for that. What we can do now, I can actually command it. So I'm just commanding the aircraft. That's our autopilot assigned altitude. I've not told it to descend. Instead of doing that, I'm going to command it, the aircraft, the G1000, to go into vertical navigation mode along our R path once it gets to that top of descent. And you can see V path has come up here in white. It means it's not active yet. Once we get to the top of descent, that should activate. And under the RNAV approach, we'll be using vertical navigation to get down to that 3,000 feet. Hope that makes sense. Just going to look outside. Oh, got lots of clouds. Ideal conditions. Beautiful clouds, in fact, aren't they? Lovely. Explain some of this symbology while we got time here. So, yeah, you can see there, RNAV, GPS. Even though we input it with our EFB effectively, it picked up that it was an RNAV, so that's correct. Vertical speed target. That's our feet per minute. Our target feet per minute we'll be descending to get down these various different profiles. On a -3 degree pitch down, which is, I think that's pretty normal. You probably typically see that 3 degrees down. Later on we'll get vertical speed required to get to these various points. That will come up once it gets on to our V path, which is getting very, very close now, isn't it? So there we go. Remember before I showed, just quickly bring it up if I've got time now. EDDK, perfect. Remember before, we want to be at 1019, we're at 1021. I'm going to reset my altimeter. I'll put a video down below where I show how you can set this up via buttons. Going to press the button, yeah, 1019, so that's correct. Not much of a divergence from where we were, but you want to be accurate under an RNAV. Make sure that you have the correct altimeter settings, which is correct now. Surprising how different that was between Frankfurt and Cologne. But there we go. How are we doing? Getting towards the top of descent, slowly but surely. Why are you increasing? That was 5 minutes before. It's slightly changed again. The computer's kind of having a hissy fit here, thinking, hang on, no, I don't want it there, I want it there. Now, are you going to change again and bring it back a bit further? Nearer. I know a lot of you like to be... Oh, look, it's cleared up for us. A lot of you like me to do this, especially under the RNAV, in real time. So let's keep that 8 nautical miles out from that waypoint. That's fine. And we should see some symbology. You will even get projected altitudes in magenta next to your altitude ribbon here, or altitude reading. These will come up when we're under our vertical, our V path approach. When it starts to descend under vertical navigation during the RNAV approach. Take a look outside. Hello, I didn't know you were with me. Oh, You're not speaking to... It's a real moody sod. I don't know what I've done to upset him, but obviously he's not happy with something. Seems to be always you. Can I not have a pretty lady next to me? Ooh, that's really upset him. Okay, joke. Okay, are we getting there? 6 nautical miles. I'll just keep you here. Chat away with you, why not? Because when this happens, there's going to be a lot happening. Although, as long as you have vertical navigation selected, which we have here, it should do it for you. You just need to keep an eye on your exhaust gas. I've got my mixture pulled out. As you can see, I've got it lean, so we're getting a bit of air into the engine, because we're at above 3,000 feet, at 5,000 feet in fact. So just making sure the engines are all happy, and they seem to be at the moment. Just gonna have to remember to put that to full rich coming into land. That's okay. I'll keep an eye on that. And all's Hoki-dory at the moment. Okie-dory, hoki-dory. All's fine at the moment. Hunky-dory is it? I can't remember the bloody saying. So there you see that's gone down again. Have you changed again? Top of descent by chance? You have. Don't worry about that. It's changed again. Don't worry about that. It will start to descend. It's almost like deciding where's the best place for this aircraft to descend to get down to 4,000 feet, then 3,500, etc. Has that changed yet? It hasn't. We'll soon get some symbology showing. You will see a G come up. That's not our glide path. That's just going to be symbology. It will be a G, and then it will change to a V for our vertical navigation profile. You should see that come up here once we get a little bit nearer. 3.5 nautical miles, so we're not far out. I'll keep the speed up. I shall start to reduce the throttle a little bit later on when we start descending, of course. Just not to overstress the engines. Weather's looking beautiful, isn't it? It's a wonderful day to go flying here. Nice to be over Germany. Once again, it's a wonderful... Well, as you saw, I saw some incredible sights flying over. What I would recommend people, try this one first. Remember, when you're doing VNAV approaches, it's got to be at an airport that supports VNAV approaches. Use your EFB. Select, let's go back, if you've set up a flight plan, whatever airport you're arriving to, your destination, press the I next to it to get this showing. So you're showing information for the airport you're landing at. Go down to that bottom tab and just see what airports support our navigation. Not all airports do, so just be aware of that, but it's a good way. The EFB is actually a great way to view that information. Ah! Symbology come up, so don't worry about this G. We're not on the glide path yet. And this will soon change to a V. That will go green, which means we're locked onto our vertical navigation, and we'll get some more information come up. Top of descent, very close now. Just gonna see if it's changed it again. Have you changed your mind again? No, you're keeping it there now. That should stay effectively where it is now. I don't know. I don't know whether that's a fault with the G1000s in the sim or something's confused somewhere. Don't worry about it. As long as it's got a top of descent, and once it gets on there, it will start descending. Let's just keep an eye on what's going on here. You should see some more symbology come up. See that? What's that called? A triangle. Or pointer, effectively. That's pointing us to where we want to be on to get down to 4,000 feet. Which is our next step along, don't forget. We will get down to 3,000. You'll see the projected altitude come up in a moment, 4,000, and that will change down to 3,000 as we go along. But that pointer there is a good pointer to say, you know, where your vertical speed should be, which is controlled by vertical navigation as we have it selected. It's not too complicated, it's just including vertical navigation and approach later on under an RNAV approach. but we're not using ILS, we're not using anything of the sort. Effectively, we're using GPS along the whole route to guide us down. I may be preaching to the choir there. A lot of you may know that, and a lot of you may know it a lot better than I do. I'm just a flight simmer, not a real world pilot. I just like all these different settings you can do, and that's good fun, isn't it? I find it quite interesting. And I think a lot of you do, because the videos do seem to be quite popular in that sense. Okay, are we coming down yet? Okay, well that's to our next waypoint. It should start top of descent. It's now going towards, it should stay there now, it won't change back. Don't say that. Watch it change back. Shouldn't do. That should be it. Come on. Not far to go. Take a quick look at the old map there, range in, just to see, yeah, we're right atop of the top of descent. Oh, there we go. Vertical speed required to get down. Has that changed? Yep. Shouldn't have clicked away, should I? So we got our projected altitude of 4,000 feet, which is our first altitude restriction there, or our first altitude fix, shall we say, along the RNAV approach. So that's correct. That pointer is showing where the vertical speed should be to get down to the 4,000 feet at that point. You'll see a bottom of descent come up at some point as well here, after the top of descent has activated. There you go, VPAF's going green, so it's locked onto our vertical navigation. Autopilot's taking care of that now, it's now descending us, and you can see that's gone to a V now, to identify that we're under vertical navigation along our RNAV. All's behaving correctly. Top of descent, is that going to change to bottom of descent? Let's give you a better picture. There we go, bottom of descent in 3 minutes. Should be roughly along this part. And then, like I said, this will keep changing down. 4,000 for the moment. Just bring the throttle back a wee bit. 2.5 RPM, that's great. Mixture, are you not enjoying that? EGT can go a little bit dotty. I don't know if that's realistic with the G1000. I don't know if they've got that accurately, or whether it would do that if you don't keep it under control. Yeah, EGT's just going down. Not gonna worry, I'm still leaning my mixture. I'm still above 3,000 feet, where I still feel we need a bit of air into the engines. Gonna concentrate on the VNAV. On the RNAV and VNAV. So there we go. Just see if that's correct. So we've got a vertical speed of minus 200 feet. Vertical speed required 245, so that may increase slightly. This may increase slightly. You may see it just going down. It needs to come down a little bit further. But the autopilot's handling that. I'm not worried about it. And you'll see that keep going down. Remember to look around at the beautiful, look at that. Yeah, I mean the shadowing and the effects there. Flight Sim 2020 couldn't do that, or didn't do that in fact. It's not a bad sim in it. I mean, goodness me, I'm still very much in love with Flight Sim 2020. I still fly it, but that just looks incredible. And all this works as well. Proof of concept that this still works. Complex approaches like this are fine. So when we get down to 4,000, you should see that change to 3,500. And then when we get to that point, 3,000. And it will just continue under vertical navigation. We'll come round to our final approach fix, which is Bebsa. Just there. Not far to go with that. I'm going to keep the speed up for the moment. No need to go too slow here. fact, it's a nice speed. I've got it on, what, 90, 80% throttle? 85% roughly. So I'm not overstressing the engines by any means. There you go, 250 feet, which is correct. Roughly from the vertical speed required, so that's perfect. The autopilot's doing a grand job, isn't it? There we go, we're turning onto our next waypoint. And this should change anytime soon to 3,500. Actually, it will fix us on that 4,000, keep us there, even though I've got 3,000 feet assigned. On the vertical navigation, it's taking commands from this projected altitude. There you go, altitude is flashing green. Don't worry about that flashing. Oh, there you go, that's changed to 3,500 now. Top of descent. Again, this has changed to top of descent. Wouldn't worry too much about that. It's just saying what top of descent to start descending now to 3,500 feet. Which is coming up very quickly, isn't it? Excuse me, sorry for coughing. I just had to. There we go, 3,500 feet going down. And okay, good points here. You can't just leave it now to bring you down to the runway. Yes, we're under vertical navigation to 3,000. Once the glide path indicator comes up and it'll go a solid diamond, you need to activate approach. Not sure if it has this part proper. We'll see. The glide path indicator should be above us at that point. In fact, we might be intercepting it right at the point. So just keep aware when we get to Bezza. Nice and clear. We should be able to see the runway nice and clearly though when we get towards it. We're not there yet. I do like the undulation going on there. You enjoying it? You miserable bugger. Right. Leave him to do what he wants to do. Stunning. Stunning, stunning. Okay, where are we going now? 3,000. That should change to 3,000 anytime soon, which should be our final approach. Glide slope. In fact, that's our glide slope indicator. We can activate approach so that when that comes down to the center, that's our glide path indicator, not glide slope. I'm going to activate approach. Approach mode. GP will go white. When that comes down to the center, it will lock on, and then we'll be going down under RNAV with no frequency. As you can see, we got no frequency dialed in, no identifier. We got a frequency, but it's not the correct one because there's no frequency ILS on this runway. This is going to bring us down under RNAV. See the diamonds coming down. So that's right. That was correct. So ignore what I said before. We did get the glide path indicator. It's not a solid diamond, but it's a diamond. When it comes to center, we know we're going to be locked on because we're under approach. Glide, and that's correct. I think previous incarnations of the G1000 in Flight Sim would still show GS for glide slope. It's not. It's now a glide path. It's a different kind of approach. Effectively a GPS approach. Isn't this fascinating? I find this stuff fascinating. Okay, that's coming down to center. And then that should flash green in a moment. There you go, that's gone solid now. There you go, glide path. We're under a glide path. Approach, let's just bring that throttle down. I'm going to put it down to 50% throttle. Runway's just yonder. It'd be great the day when we could see people further afield. Sure, there's people flying around. I've seen a couple on this flight, but you have to be right next to them to see them. I want to see people further out, please. Okay, I'm going to bring that throttle down to get towards flaps range, about 86 knots, indicated airspeed. So I'm going to bring it way back, let's go about 30, 25, 30% throttle. That should get me down. I could have actually configured for flaps a bit earlier, but never mind, we will get there. As you can see, once I get towards that, I'm just going to go to stage 10 degrees of flaps. Stage 1, 1 notch of flaps. There we go, just bring that, encourage that speed to come down a little bit further. Yeah. Don't be finicky about this. Once you're near that flaps range, you're not going to break the aircraft by going into stage 1 flaps. To prove a point there, I'll put it into stage 1 of flaps. And the speed will continue to come down, that's absolutely fine. Now I did do this as a practice before. I ended up on my nose, even though I was right above the runway, took autopilot off, it still tipped up. I think it's a bit too temperamental when landing still, that needs to be improved as well. Even aircraft like this can go tip on your nose if you're not careful. And I wasn't doing anything unusual for that to happen. There's the runway. Is it going to line us up properly this time? I think we had a kind of diagonal approach to it when I was practicing it. So we'll let this get all configured. Oh, speed's fine. So, yep, absolutely fine. Good speed to be at. Let's go another notch of flaps. 20 degrees of flaps. Oh, that'll be fine for landing. See, it's got a kind of diagonal. I might take it off autopilot a little bit sooner, because I don't trust the way this is controlling. Oh, watch that speed, Huddison. Alright, I've caught you. About to stall the aircraft. That's okay. So as you can see, this is all, there's no we're not under ILS, this is an RNAV approach. It's picked all this up from the RNAV approach, we're just commanding it to go into approach mode, but still, it's still RNAV. A lot of people's favourite approach. You find a lot of airliners who use RNAV approaches. The 146 uses RNAV, for example. Typically land under ILS approaches with that, but uses RNAV to guide us through the various different waypoints to get to that point. Oh, speed, what are you doing? It's basically, you know, just maintaining us on the glide path here, so the speed's going up and down a bit. So I'm just controlling that. Gives you a little bit to do, doesn't it? There we go. Nice and simple. And again, people, you know, do let me know. You know, would you want this video more cut up? Where, you know, I've seen videos out there which are absolutely fine, by the way. They just cut from point to point. When we're under an approach, I like to do the whole lot with you. So if at any stage you get a little bit lost, you can see what I've done. Hopefully that will help. Especially on a back to basics video. It makes them a little bit longer, but there's nothing wrong with that. What else will we be doing with our lives? Talking about that, on the Discord yesterday, come into the Discord if you haven't joined. Be aware that we are streaming a lot more now there. Susie was doing a flight for us, a couple of flights, and then Neil did a flight for us. Retriever Neil. And I'm encouraging people just to get into that flight. You'll find me in there often, watching those. So, you know, just get in there. You're going to find me more often, because I'm got plans doing a lot more live streams. I'm not at the moment because of internet issues, but that's changing soon. And locations changing, more on that upcoming. So you can see me. I've taken it off autopilot, by the way. I'm going to land this. You could see me live streaming a lot more. It does seem to have a diagonal slant still. I didn't know. Let's hope I don't go on my nose again. If I do, you're going to have to forgive me. Shouldn't do. Yeah, that's better. That's better. I like that. Okay, just going to reduce that throttle slowly. And nice long runway, nothing to worry about. Saying that, unless the same thing happens. Oops. Has it happened again? Okay. I don't know what's occurring there, people. At least it's not gone tipped up. Not the best landing I've ever done, but I could see something was wrong with the profile. Doesn't matter. I'm sure you can do a lot better. There we go. That's an RNAV approach. In the G1000, do practice, maybe practice that specific one and get a much better landing than I did there. And do let me know your results. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you soon.